Welcome to the series where I test out money-making methods from the OSRS Wiki. Feel free to leave suggestions on which moneymaker you'd like to see next. And also, if you didn't already know, I have a nice playlist that I've created that has all of the previous moneymakers that I've already tried, so go ahead and check it out if you haven't already. With that being said, let's get into the video. So for today's video, I thought we'd go ahead and do some green dragons in the Myths Guild, and one of the comments actually said to do it in best in slot gear, so we will be doing that today. Just thought I'd mention that in the beginning of the video so you don't expect me to go to the wilderness and kill them in budget gear. I know a lot of people get mad whenever I use certain gear because they say that not everyone is going to have it, but one of the comments specifically asked for this and I thought it would be fun to try it out. I do, however, plan on making another green dragon video in the future, and that one I will do in the wilderness, and I might even do it in a cheaper setup since we are in the wilderness and we do risk more. Who knows, I might even do 1 hour of PKing people who are killing green dragons just to mix it up. But for now, we're going to see how much money we can make killing green dragons in the Myths Guild with best in slot, or at least the best stuff that I have. So before doing this, I actually had to buy the basilisk jaw because I did not have one. I actually got one on my alt, but I ended up selling it because I just wasn't using it. But for this video, I did decide to buy it back just so we can have the most best in slot items that we could possibly have. Now, if you didn't already know, getting this helmet requires the Fremennik Exiles quest, and once you complete it, you have to talk to this guy over here to actually be able to mix the two items together. You can receive the Basilisk Jaw as a drop from the Basilisk Knights at a drop rate of 1 in 1,000 when you are on Slayer task. I did manage to receive one of these jaws on the alt account, and it was fairly early on, so I got pretty lucky with that. And I believe it sold for around 35 mil, if I'm correct. But now that we have that helmet, we can go ahead and show you the rest of the gear setup that I chose to use. So as you can see here, I am wearing full bandos. I have the helmet that we just made right now. I have the Amulet of Torture. I have the Dragonfire Shield. I have the Primordial Boots, the Berserker Ring Eye, the Ferocious Gloves, the Dragon Hunter Lance, and for the cape, originally I was using my Fire Cape, but when I tested out this method, I found out that I was killing the dragons fairly quickly even without it, and I was just waiting around for most of the time, so I opted to go for the Max Cape to have a teleport back to a bank. Originally, the Max Cape was sitting in my inventory, but I figured let's just put it on, have it as our main cape, and have one extra slot for either a dragon bone or a green dragon hide. And it's not pictured here because I forgot it during the video, but for the ammo slot, you can bring a blessing to help conserve some prayer. As for the inventory, I do have the mythical cape to teleport us directly to where the dragons live, and I have the anti-fire potion there. It's actually an extended anti-fire potion. Since we have max combat stats and we have very strong defensive gear, we won't be bringing any food for this 1 hour. We can just tank all of the dragon's attacks. So to get to this area, we just teleport with the mythical cape and we come down here. This is the spot that I was actually running through whenever I was doing my Wrath Rune video. This area has all kinds of dragons, and then in this area to the west there are a bunch of baby dragons of different colors. So you have your red dragons here, you have the 2 green dragons that we will be killing over here to the east, and then we have a bunch of blue dragons further south, and then 2 black dragons also further south. When I saw how many blue dragons were here, I figured that this might be a good idea for another video someday. Killing blue dragons in the Myths Guild, since there are so many of them. We could possibly set up a cannon and use best in slot range, or we could go ahead and use melee again. I'll leave that up to you guys. But for that one, we will be able to bring true best in slot since there are multiple and we won't have to be waiting around for them to respawn like they do here with the green dragons. We will be using the crafting guild to bank all of the loot that we get, and a trip down here I'd say takes around 4 minutes to get a full inventory of green dragon hide and dragon bones, as well as some other uniques that they drop. And when I say uniques, they aren't really uniques, but it feels that way because they don't drop it too often. So like I said earlier, you do a lot of damage with the Dragon Hunter Lance against these dragons. It is possible to actually 2-hit these dragons, especially if you're flicking Piety. And I'd say that it takes about 17 seconds for the dragons to respawn. I think the plugin that shows that timer is NPC Indicators. I turned it on a very, very long time ago and totally forgot about it. And I believe you have to specify what monsters you actually want to be tracked like that. I'm pretty sure the reason why I had the green dragons as one of those monsters that is being tracked is because I was probably in the wilderness a very long time ago competing with green dragon bots. So just knowing whenever they would respawn gave me an edge on those bots. Now before making this video, I was debating whether I should also bring super combat potions, but the same thing with the fire cape. The reason for not wearing that was because you just kill these things so fast that you're just waiting for them to respawn most of the time. I figured that it wasn't worth it, especially since it'll eat into your profits. As it stands right now, the only money we are spending on supplies is that on the extended anti-fire, and that's going to be a very small amount, as you'll see in the end of the video. You'll also notice that these dragons drop a lot of other random items. Some of them I just leave on the ground. Basically, if it's less than the price of a green dragon hide, then I'll just leave it on the ground. I tend to fill up the inventory with dragon bones and the green dragon hide, unless they drop something like a grimy ranar or a rune dagger. If for whatever reason you do plan on doing this moneymaker, it might actually be worth it to you to bring a herb sack, a rune pouch, and maybe even a gem bag, because these dragons do drop herbs, gems, and runes. The only runes that I picked up during this 1 hour were the nature runes, and I think at the end, whenever I was running out of time, I just picked up whatever runes were on the ground. But for the most part, nature runes were the only ones that were worth picking up. I will, however, be showing the loot tracker at the end of the video so you can see the total amount of all the loot that the dragons dropped. I was actually debating that also whenever I first started the video. I was thinking about bringing the rune pouch just to save all of the runes, but since it was just for 1 hour, I figured it'd be better just to have an extra inventory slot for more dragon bones or green dragon hide. But if you do plan to do this method for a long time, again, bringing those bags might actually help. So not only was I using the max cape to teleport to the crafting guild to bank all of our loot, but if it did come down to it, I would have also teleported to my house with it to use the ornate pool so that I could restore my prayer and my health. Luckily though, during this entire 1 hour, we didn't take enough damage from the dragons to have to use the pool, and we didn't run out of prayer either since I was just flicking it for the 1 hour. The dragons also drop bass, so that helped to heal us whenever we were running a little low, but for the most part, they don't do too much damage when you're in this gear. As long as you have your extended anti-fire and a dragonfire shield, you are pretty much safe from their attacks. I thought I would have to flick protect from melee, but we didn't have to do that. That wasn't the case. Of course, it may be different for you if you decide to do this moneymaker, and if you have lower stats and lower gear. But like I said in the beginning of the video, there is a bunch of other methods that you can do to make more money. This was just more of a curiosity thing to see how many dragons we could kill in this 1 hour with best in slot gear and being at the Myths Guild. If you have max gear and you have really good stats, I mean, you're pretty much better off killing rune dragons. I'd say rune dragons are just as AFK as this, or possibly even more. You're definitely going to make a lot more money, and there's also the chance of getting uniques from those, so it'll probably be more exciting than this. But if your heart is really set on killing some green dragons and you've done Dragon Slayer 2, then this is the best spot to kill them, since you don't have to worry about going into the wilderness and risking death to another player. And with that being said, we have finished the 1 hour of killing green dragons. Here is all of the loot that we got from the 1 hour. Just in green dragon hide and dragon bones, you can already see it. That makes up most of the price check. So if you were just to focus on that, you would still make a nice amount of money. But with the other items thrown in there, we can see that we have made 914,000 GP. With all of those items being price checked, we can now go to the Grand Exchange to sell all of the items. I'd say we actually lucked out when we were selling the items, because a lot of the items were actually being traded for higher than the market price, so we were able to make a little extra money. Really, the important items here are the dragon bones and the green dragon hide, because they do make up most of the profit from killing green dragons. So if you do plan on camping this moneymaker out for a long time, make sure you put the price in for the green dragon hide and the dragon bones at slightly above market, and then just give them some time to sell so you can totally maximize your profit. Everything had no trouble selling except for the rune daggers. Those weren't quite selling for their market price, so I just threw them in there for a cheap price since we already made a decent amount of money on the rest of the items. But with the last daggers being sold, we can now do a final price check on the money that we got, and it is around 915,000 coins. Not bad at all for a very nostalgic moneymaker in a very new place. And there's also someone right there warning about PvP lures, so watch out for that. So if we subtract the total cost of supplies, which was a whopping 386 coins, and we subtract that from the total amount of money that we made, which was 915,527 GP, we get a grand total profit of 915,141 GP from 1 hour of killing green dragons at the Myths Guild. Now, we also managed to get a nice amount of combat XP, which I will throw up right now on the screen. And of course, as I promised earlier, I did say that we were going to show the total loot from all of the green dragons that we killed, which was all the loot that we didn't get to pick up. But if you were to pick up all the loot from the green dragons, this is around the amount you could expect to make. I just want to say thanks for checking out the video, and if you did enjoy it, please consider giving it a thumbs up and possibly a subscription. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next episode.